Bannerlord can be a brutally hard game. Often you're outnumbered and massive armies march against you. Well, in this new series, we're going to work together, friends. What I want you to do is send me your difficult situations that you're either currently encountering in Bannerlord in your campaign, or something that you've dealt with in the past where you're just unable to solve it. I will do my very best to handle these difficult situations. I will share the results on YouTube, provided they have some kind of educational value for people. We will take on these difficult challenges, do some battlefield analysis, and hopefully help you turn around a very, very difficult battle. So join me on this adventure. Please send me your difficult situations. Have a little patience. I don't know how many there are going to be, but I'm willing to take these challenges on for you fellas as we handle your disasters of war. Alright friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related, and we are back with our good friend Kalanandros. I basically just stopped playing this episode. We're going to break this into two parts, and this is going to be part two. We'll do a 30 or 60 second recap of this fella and what happened in the previous episode, as well as what was going on. And I think I'll just again share his email as I hold the screen like this for you to read it. Essentially, though, in paraphrasing, this fella said he was having all kinds of problems. Fiscally, he was losing money. His wife was captured. His towns were constantly under attack. Even his villages were burnt. I think somewhere in there his dog died and something else horrific happened. This poor fellow was just beset by problems. And in episode 1, we started to fix some of those problems. Now, the first thing you'll notice is Yalmyris here. We have fixed the loyalty. Of course, you'll want to watch episode 1 to see how we did that, but it's no longer in a rebelling state. Between the healthy garrison of guys that have all had bread and circuses, there's now almost 550 defenders in there. The loyalty is stable and going up. The food situation has been stabilized. Even though they're still raiding our villages here, the city, which is way more important, is now functional, developing prosperity, and is going to be an asset for him. Fiscally, he's still losing money because he has huge garrisons out there at some of his castles, and that's not something that we're going to be able to fix in this episode, although maybe we'll do 2 weeks worth of gameplay to fix his situation. What I would recommend for Kalanandros in this situation, this guy goes by Alonso, is to give away that castle of Jemiah. It'd be even better if the Aserai just took it, right? Because it's so far away. He's got this castle. Let me show you this. Way down here, he's got a castle that doesn't make any sense, right? It's not really usable for you when you're way up here. You want your fiefs and locations near each other, and when they're that far away, you're better off just losing it. Now, again, to recap it, we rescued his wife. Almost immediately after we rescued her, she gave birth to twins. He's got a couple babies here. Let's see if we can find out if they're male or female. It's always nice to know this kind of thing. I mean, ostensibly you want males because then they can get married. They're both women, but that's all right, right? You can have more kids. You know how to do that. So Alonso is well on his way. His wife is rescued. In fact, we'll probably turn her into the governor. We're actually given the town of Legetta, but it's instantly under siege, and we're just not that worried about it, right? We're going to try to get his workshops profitable. We're going to try to continue to shore up Yalmyris here, and that will probably be the majority of the effort in this episode, right? We'll continue to talk about the garrison and stuff like that. Now, we did also do a policy last episode for him, right? We added this policy right here. Settlement loyalty is increased by 2 per day. This should be an automatic in your campaign if you're having problems with loyalty. For very little cost, you dramatically improve the loyalty of your settlements. Now, we're going to make his wife the governor, but she's still traveling to his party. So, in the meanwhile, we want the goods that are in this city here, and we're Southern Empire, right? This scum Valandia is attacking us here, so we're going to smash the Valandians here, try to make some money by the sword. This remains the best way to make money in Bannerlord, which is part of the reason that I think our channel here is so beneficial to you fellas. The best way, let me repeat that, the best way to make money in Bannerlord is to win battles, right? And with this battle where 2/3 of the forces are him and his companions, which will then give the money to him, this is going to be the best way for you to make money in Bannerlord. You also get all the other benefits, right? You're getting all the character benefits. We're getting chucked in here rudely. You're getting all the influence. You're getting all the goods, right, that come from the battle. That's the primary way that you get money, of course, is your all the loot, right? But you're also getting character levels. You're getting character perks. You're getting character upgrades, right? You're upgrading units, etc., etc., etc. Let's see, how do I want to do this? He's got a lot of cavalry. Let's go ahead and just split it like this. We'll do a 1st and 6th division is infantry / skirmishers. Now you can't divide them as far as I want only skirmishers in the 6th division. If I remember right, Calanandros has tons and tons of skirmishers. That seems to be his thing. Even his character is like a javelin god. Now these characters here, this is the AI. The AI is like, we can do it, boss. So we'll teach those guys for not listening to Calanandros the Great. That's what we're going to call this guy. Start stretching out archers in the valley below, and we're going to fight this battle at least initially at range because he's got all these skirmishers, right? So we're going to pull skirmishers up to the top of the hill here. In fact, let's get an archer division up to the top of the hill here as well. And we're simply going to use our cavalry here in defensive lines, right? We're going to put them in the face of the enemy while we spread our troops out. In fact, I'll have one of them charge. The 3rd division can charge while the rest of our troops get set up. In fact, fuck these guys. We're going to have our cavalry charge right through all the enemy sharpshooters, fiend champs, and stuff like that. And they're scrambling around because the AI doesn't like to be charged with cavalry. Right? That's just, it's a normal behavior by an AI. The irony is that, of course, archers do really well against cavalry, so they should be just holding their ground, but it's obviously freaking the AI out. Now, the rest of our troops are just moving up. That 3rd division is going to be suicidal. You can see right now there's 68 guys in that 3rd division. They're all going to die. That's okay. Right? Somebody had to die to make this episode. All right, so we're going to swing the rest of our troops around here to the flank, the 8th Corps on the enemy's right flank, and we're moving up skirmishers and archers. The 5th division is skirmishers, or excuse me, the 5th division is archers, 6th division is skirmishers. I'm looking at the 6th division here. You know what it is? It's mostly shock troops. So, how do you use shock troops in Bannerlord, right? Let's do shield and shock. Let's move a cavalry division ahead of them. That infantry division behind them. Over on the other side, we're going to advance the infantry and the cavalry, right? We're basically closing in the net on the enemy position here. Shock troops are coming in behind the cavalry, and right when they're right about here, you see our cavalry's right about there. That's the point you can tell those guys to charge. We'll move the 5th up here. Some of the horse archers are in the way of some of our archers. See what's going on there? 8th division in front, kind of in a big long line, pushing a hole for our shock troops because the enemy has tons and tons of sharpshooters. So we're going to send them in on the far side. We'll have the infantry charge, and over here, oh shit. Now, enemy archers popped out right in front of our shock troops, so it's not actually a bad situation, right? You just have those guys insta-charge, and immediately these poor crossbowmen get horrific palace guards and stuff like that, just cutting them to ribbons, right? These guys are in a bad spot. That's why they're backpedaling, panicking. We can help out a little bit here on the edges of the battle. AI is scrambling. Now we're just going to bring all of our cavalry in here because of the amount of archers the enemy has, right? You just want them all to follow you, right? Your 1st, your 8th, your 3rd, your 2nd, all of these cavalry just following the archers, right? This is a relatively simple concept, and it's just consistently effective. Now it's a very messy battle still, right? We've got all kinds of militia participating with us. It's good to remember that not all of this death spam is our troops, right? A lot of this is not your guys, they're Calanandros, although I cannot prevent, obviously, a lot of your troops getting cut down in a battle like this. The power bar is almost equal. We're only going to be able to derive so much of an advantage here. I'm trying to get his archers some nice line of sight, right? While the rest of his troops are being mauled. Let's move his archers up so they've got some good line of sight over the river. One good way to move up archers if they're in a situation where they're a long ways away is not charge, right? Because if you tell them to charge, what they will do is shoot if they can see the enemy. I like to have them charge, like 5th Division charge, and hold fire. And what that does is they move up in melee. I want them moving up. That's the most important thing at this stage. Rack up some skill points for Calanandros. Even when I play other people's campaigns, I kill my own troops. Good at it. And this battle is starting to swing in our direction now. Now, the enemy has a ton of troops here. We're going to gain a lot of influence. We're going to gain you a lot of money. This is the kind of battle where you just rack it up, right? Especially, of course, if you can have a good tactical battle. Now, the enemy's got a good force here. This is not going to be an easy battle. We'll probably have 200-300 survivors. Might even lose a battle like this, right? Obviously, I'm playing an army that I'm not hyper familiar with, but I think we're still ultimately going to make this work. This character still has a good amount of health. See their archers spreading out. What do, right? We continue to follow them. As long as these archers aren't standing still shooting, they're not doing a lot of damage, right? They're all getting interrupted. Sharpshooters getting knocked all over the place. Meanwhile, who's closing? Our infantry is closing, right? Our other troops are closing for the kill. They're going to scrambling again, all these sharpshooters. They give themselves away with their barn door shields. Cut down some sharpshooters here. And each time they get somewhere and they want to stop and start shooting, right? The next thing they, oh shit, he fucked up our horse pretty good there. Now this is that athleticism I was talking about. His athleticism is so bad, he can barely move around the battlefield. All those archers were just getting lick after lick because he can't move. You guys gotta give your characters some athleticism, otherwise that's what happens, right? They just get ran over. You can't escape. If you fall off your horse right into the midst of battle, you're just fucked. Rack up some of his skill points here with my mediocre skills. And bloody, very bloody battle, but it's going to be influenced. It's going to be a lot of good shit for us in this battle. Let's see if we can escape this. Probably not. Can't run away. Go, go, go. All right, see all these archers here? In a situation like that, archers down there, put them up high. None of them can see. They obviously can't kill if they can't see. You got to get those guys to high ground. We're starting to get to the militia and the really scrubby part of our army here, but this battle is also basically over. Those archers have a nice position. Once they're there, charge, right? Then they can start advancing. Get them to high ground first, though. So they got a nice line of sight. They were a little bit on the flank there of the enemy as well. And this is actually a tough enemy force. Even at the very end, you still see sharpshooters and shit like that. And we made it by with the thinnest of margins here. All right, 273 surviving troops. Not great, right? But again, I will emphasize to Kalinandros and the rest of you, get more archers. Right? If you're fighting battles with 10% archers, it's very hard to have dramatic victory. Gained him some pretty good skills there. And on we go here. Come with us, you bitch-ass Philandians. Why? Because we need the money. These are all troops. We'll take these all. We need their money for his budget situation. I'm just going to make this guy take a bunch of archer prisoners. He'll be out there recruiting them a week from now and being like, dang, my army's improving significantly. Yes, it will be. Last episode, of course, we took a bunch of fiend champs and stuff like that prisoner. Unless you're objecting to doing that because it's like making your game too easy, you obviously should be recruiting fiend champs. They have sharpshooters. We'll take some sharpshooters too. Now, his prisoners, he's over the limit there, but once our troops start to heal, that number will go up. It's based on the total amount of healthy troops, and obviously about half of his army is injured. All right, so a few bitch-ass Valandians here to wrap up. We want all your ransom. Come with us. Come with us. I'm taking all of you guys straight to the prison broker. Now, influence doesn't generate us any money, right? I would definitely say in this situation, Kalinandros, you became a vassal too early. The way you make your money in Bannerlord is primarily in the mercenary stage. You can rack up huge amounts of money from siege defense, from battles where you participate on the edges of the battle and just wreck shop. And it looks like he didn't do that here. Either that or he just had his garrison so full of good troops that whole time that he's been hemorrhaging funds. Now, we've got so much good loot now that I'm just going to spend enough time here to empty the city. But I also empty the city of gold. But I also am here to collect all of their raw goods, right? Because that is one of the premises of this episode is workshops. At this stage, as I often do, I will recommend, if you want to become a workshop guru, there is one guy on YouTube that is completely thoroughly studied on it. Guys like Strat, they cover it as well, but your guy to go see is Flesson19. If you just Google it, probably the first thing that'll come up is Flesson 19 workshops. I'm very happy to encourage you to check out other Bannerlord content creators, whether they're funny. Check out Mr. Chicken, it's fucking hilarious. Or whether they just know everything about a subject, whether it's Strat Gaming Guide or Flesson 19. I've got no qualms at all about sending you somewhere else if I think it'll benefit you guys. I'm not here trying to exclude you from content I think will be beneficial. That said, you should subscribe, right? You should learn tactics here, right? All right, so we've emptied the city of a bunch of raw goods. We actually, we've still got like a surplus amount of a gift card here. So we'll just buy some random shit. Doesn't matter too much. We'll buy you a nice little axe and whatever. It doesn't really matter. This guy's going to make so much money eventually that none of that shit's going to matter. Actually, let's see. Tanner. You know what? We've got a lot of hides. Let's just go ahead and do this. I think I can add... No? Well, I wish to buy your tannery. All right. We bought that tannery. I think we have 7 now. We're maxed out. Okay. And what else is also going on here? So we don't have anything else at Rotai except now this tannery. And we want to click this button because we're going to leave hides here. In the previous battle... spare you that high-paced song. In a previous battle and previous episode, we collected a bunch of hides. We savagely killed a bunch of cows, and that is because we want these hides, right? These hides are how we're going to make money with our workshop, so we're going to enter the warehouse here, dump a bunch of hides in here, and be on our merry way. Now, the rest of this episode, apart from maybe running into some battles, should be relatively routine. And what I mean by that is we're just going to rocket to Amitatis, the different spots that we have workshops. Now, we're going to keep an eye on Yalmyrus here. There's already armies forming, and this is what happens when you fight everybody, right? Ask Napoleon how that goes. Legetta's going to fall. There's no forces over there to defend it. They're building a ram. They're building a siege tower. That's going to fall. And what is happening here? I do not have the adjustable bandits on. I wonder if he's playing with it. Maybe that's part of the reason he's having a problem. I don't know if you saw that, but there was an army of mountain bandits. So I turn all these mods off before I take over your episodes because I don't want them infected with things like 700 mountain bandits or whatever that was. I didn't missee that. That was like an unbelievable amount of mountain bandits. I presume that this guy has those mods loaded, right? He must be following the channel and wanted a bunch of bandits in his campaign. How strange. But more power to you. I guess my point there is I'm not going to corrupt your fellow save games with the mods that we have here. That mod, if you're not familiar with it, dramatically increases the amount of bandits, looters, etc. that are in your campaign. And they will stay there after I send the save game to you. So you don't want that. And so, accordingly, I don't load your save games with those mods active. Hopefully that makes sense. That means, though, that this fellow already had that mod engaged, which is... interesting. Very interesting. He's accepting that kind of a challenge at this stage of his campaign. All right. I'm fumbling around here with my words. What do we need to do here at Amitatis? We have just... is it just hides here as well? All right. So only hides. We're going to go in here and see if they have any cows, right? Because anytime you have a warehouse opportunity, you're swinging by a warehouse, you want to give them the maximum of the stuff that is going to positively affect your income. And I'll show you that in a second. In this case, it's hides. And we are going to do more slaughter here. I think we have a bunch of hogs. Yeah, we do. We have a bunch of hogs and sheep. We're just going to do all of these guys here. And then what we will do is turn all of those hides into money, right? You go into the warehouse here. You say, here you go. I think they can take all of it. All of it. 300 or 3,000 or so. And then very soon, when we go to this page here, Rotai will start making money from the hides. Now, again, just to reemphasize this for people who don't know, if you do this, store outputs in the warehouse, the warehouse takes in hides, either from the city trade menu there or from the stuff that we've dumped in the warehouse, and they make leather. If you put this at 50%, they will sell half of your hides or half of your leather, the finished product, and the rest of it they will leave in here. We want to make the maximum amount of money with these warehouses, and I don't give a shit about a bunch of leather. We're going to make this 0%. That way, the workshop number will go up because these workshops will get more profitable. Now, so far, not so good, right? The various different warehouses are not making a lot of money, but that's going to change once some time passes here. All right, I think we're good there. We are going to head, and this is that traveling salesman program, right? Like, where do you go first? I'm just going to do a counterclockwise circle. We will swing by Lycaron. Might as well swing by Poros to see if they have any goods for us as well. Oh, you know what else we can do here? She's still moving to us. We're going to assign our wife. She just arrived. Actually, let's give her a chance to be pregnant, even though with the current level of a current variant of Bannerlord, your wife can get pregnant even if she's on the other side of the map, which is, slightly suspicious. We will leave her with us for now. In fact, Yalmyris is nowhere close to rebelling, but we can put her at Yalmyris when we go there. It's going to take us a couple 4 minutes to get there. All we're doing at this stage is loading up our warehouse. Now, there's a tiny chance that Southern Empire forces defend here, but probably not, right? The other thing we could hope is that there's peace there. Let's see. Okay, we're getting some ransom. Now, we have enough influence at this stage to ask for peace, but I don't remember who's sieging Legetta, and frankly, it just doesn't matter that much. All right, so Lycaron, we are now at Lycaron, and we want to put... We just have one warehouse here. We want to put silver here. Now, somebody said you have to put silver. I've always just put silver ore. I don't know. This is what I mean. I'm not an expert at warehouses, but in my experience, that's all you have to do, right? The warehouse is up and operating. I don't think it needs refined, right? It's not a smithing thing, right? It's just this silver ore, and that warehouse is going to start doing just fine. Again, we'll take their food, right? I don't care if other cities starve. We'll take their hides too, right? We'll go through here. In fact, one of the places needs silk. And then grapes too, right? One of the places needs grapes. We'll take their animals, right? Because we can turn that into hides as well. And we are now on our way, right? Visiting all these little cities. And of course, you could do shit like this. Here, we'll do this for him. He's starting to make some money. Actually, we're not. He's got so many troops in this campaign that he doesn't need to do this. You rarely encounter somebody in a campaign where they have this many troops and they're hemorrhaging funds, right? And what I mean by that is he's got enough troops here to conquer half the map, it seems like, and he's not really taking advantage of it. Obviously, if you have this kind of many troops, you want to be using that shit, right? Part of the reason Napoleon stayed at war so long was he had a huge army, right? The Grand Armée ate food like you wouldn't believe when you have, 200,000 warriors across your frontier. Very tempting to use them. Otherwise, they're just eating you out of house and home. All right, we're at Poros. Poros, we don't have any warehouses here, but we will collect all the resources here that we can use at our different warehouses. And what I like to do is I constantly keep these resources available. And then as your warehouses use them, you just swing by from time to time and you dump a bunch of this positive stuff on those warehouses. Once you start doing that consistently, they will be constantly operating at what I would consider a high level. Right? Let's see how we're doing now. So it's up to 900. I think it's going to do a lot better than that, right? And we go in here, make sure they're all operating, working. Now this one halted. So maybe I'm wrong. Just silver, right? Not sure. We'll head to Zionica. That should be operating though. This is halted. We'll see. Let's head to Zionica, though, and by the time we get back to our main city here, we should be just raking in the gold. 7:30. It's going up slow, admittedly, but we still have 2 more stops to make here. So Zionica, we had a couple or 3 here. Let's see. We have a wine press, velvet weavery, so we need raw silk and grapes. Let's go enter warehouse. And look how much raw silk we've accumulated, right? This is just from running all over the place, and we probably have a good amount of grapes, too. So these workshops are going to be functional for a long time, right? Your capacity, that's 6,000. That's, it's kind of similar to your inventory. Even more silk. So it'll also use silk from the city, so you don't have to actually buy that. They're buying it at local prices for your warehouse. But we will take the things that they're not using here, the silver ore, the hides, the stuff that other merchants are using, basically. We do a little hostile capitalism. We buy all the shit that they want to use, take it to our warehouses where we have a monopoly, Meanwhile, in our warehouse, it's just stuffed to the gills, full of grapes, raw silk. Very soon, those warehouses are going to start cranking, and we come full circle here and make it to Yalmyras. Now, let's see here. What did we lose? Oh, we lost our I didn't even notice. They insta-sieged Rotai. I wasn't paying attention. What did we buy there? A tanner? And you're going to have to deal with this, Lonzo. You just got war, but I think you're in a much better position now to deal with that war because your warehouses are stuffed to the gills with stuff that's going to... so this is all made oil, right? So they turned all of that... Now, why isn't that selling? Why not? Oh, shit. How many of these did I do? This one says 100%. So all of that oil is being stored in the warehouse. That's part of the reason it's not making a lot of money. Now, your other warehouse should be making money, making beer left and right. Get inputs. How come these aren't making money? Most of these, they'll take a little bit of time, right? See, this is 0%, 0%. Store inputs. They have tons of inputs here, right? And they are starting to use them. It takes a little time for these things to sort of get up and running. You've got to be a little bit patient with warehouses, with workshops. The biggest key to understand about workshops is this is your passive income. It's a little bit like my YouTube channel, right? I'm making $400, $500, $600 a month. And if I stop making content today, I'd probably make a couple, $300 for a year or two, just because videos are getting seen. And that money just sort of continues to sort of flow in. It's the same kind of idea here with your warehouses. So I don't think we have any olives. You got to go to certain locations for certain things, right? In this case, we don't have the olives for the warehouse. So you could argue, hey, let's get one of these different ones, one of these different warehouses up, and that's the kind of thing you want to talk to. That's the kind of thing you want to reference Flesson 19. He's the person to give you the information on what warehouses do the best for this and that, right? That's the guy to see. He'll talk about the locations of the map where products are really dear. Some locations there's tons of figs, for example. Other locations figs are really rare, and so they're more expensive. If you want to do that trading, there's a number of different guys in Bannerlord that cover trading. That's not my forte, fellas. Not going to go there. At work, I tell people right away, right, the new guys that are trying to learn, I'm really good at this, and I don't know shit about this, right? There's other guys that I can send you to that will know more about that shit. I'm not the guy for that right now. I think we have 2 tanneries here. Oh no, we lost that one at Rotai. So at least now we can add another element here where we're making some money. Now we need olives, right? This warehouse is basically going to be where's this guy? This olive press, right? Yeah. Our olive press is halted. That's why it says halted, because there is no olives. Even though we're saying get inputs from the warehouse, get inputs from the town, there aren't any, right? So you're out there looking for olives, but honestly, it doesn't matter that much, right? Your warehouses, I would say, if you get your warehouses working like really well, maybe they'll make you 3,000-4,000 on the high end, right? I've seen like 3,500, 3,800 or something like that, and perhaps other guys out there are doing a lot better than that. But in my experience, and it's actually kind of disappointing, it's a lot lower than I thought they'd be. Halted, running, halted. Why are these not running? It's a good question. I'm a little perplexed myself. There's tons of grain here. I don't know why these would not be running. Okay, that one's running. You know what I'm going to do here? I think it's all right, Kalanandros. We're going to spend another week. We're basically going to stall. I will come back and then show you the results of essentially getting your workshops up and running. And we don't need Valandian troops, but we are here to buy all the olives we can find. We're starting to get encumbered a little bit, so I've stopped picking up grain. But it's a pretty good spot to probably pick this back up. We'll start doing some narration, and I'll just weave these files together. Now, the garrison is still costing us a fortune. The bottom line is you have so many elite troops, Alonzo, that you need to put these guys to use in war. However, our workshops are starting to become more profitable, and if you're wondering what we're doing here, we were nice enough to get peace from the Empress with Valandia, so we're taking advantage of that to go around Valandian territory and pick up all the lovely olives that are at their villages. Now, there's more good news. If you call this good news, and I do, Jamaya Castle, which we helped you, of course, defend from the Sultan, is being besieged. We finally have war. The Aserai have finally had enough of you having a castle deep within their territory, and they are taking it. Why is that a good thing? Simple, right? You are hemorrhaging a huge amount of money to the troops that were there. In fact, let's see if we can... Did we already lose it? Oh, no, there it is right there. No, I don't see it. Okay, just the Jalmyris garrison there. So we already lost it. It just happened, and I didn't pick it up. Whatever the garrison was there, though, I think it was over 4,000 a day, and you were making something like 500 with the castle, right? So it was basically, we talked about it, I think, in episode 1. Huge negative asset for you to hold that castle on the other side of the map. Now it's gone, right? The Aserai have killed your troops, so you no longer have to pay them since they are dead. And now we can enjoy a little bit of peace here and get on the prosperous side of things with your city, right? We're going to encourage you essentially to shift where you are playing in this campaign. Now, I'm not just going to make you do this, but this also happened. While we were away in the west, you lost Melian Castle. And while this might all seem like a tragedy, I lost you 2 castles here. We did rescue your wife. We did restore Jalmyris to a highly loyal city, right? You now have a buttressed bastion of defense here, even though you need to upgrade the walls and do some other things there. You're in good shape at Jalmyris. You're going to be profitable before too long. And here's another way to look at it. Net, you're still losing money. Look, it's down 1,100 a day. But the workshops are over 1,000. We're slowly getting those to a state that I consider is exceptional. Right now, it's a little bit less than your settlement income, but that's not bad, right? Those workshops that you spent 100 grand on are now producing you 1,000 gold a day. Now you're having to put inputs in it, so it's not pure profit. But if you put it this way, if you just look at it from the sort of the free side of things. I'm trying to say it from the positive side of things. Your workshops will pay for themselves in a year. In one game year, you're going to be highly profitable in your workshops. Now, this is the rest of what I'm doing here. This is just sort of Bannerlord SOP, standard operating procedure or standard operating guideline. Anytime that you have peace, and there was a great question on Reddit like a week or two ago, and they said, what do you do during times of peace? And I answered immediately, prepare for war. Right, that's been both the Machiavellian approach to war throughout the world, but also the approach you should take in Bannerlord, right? When you have moments like this where there is ostensibly nothing to do because there's no one to fight, get out there, get some supplies, go hunt for some Botanian Fiend recruits, get yourself some better equipment, participate in some tournaments, watch those boundaries, right? Watch your frontier. I think we're at war with one other kingdom. Sturgia and the Aserai. So not really anybody imminently at war with, but you know who's going to be at war with us before long? The Valandians or somebody else, right? So in times of peace, in Bannerlord, in games like this, you prepare for war. And you do so primarily fiscally, right? It was, I think, Daniel Defoe that said it is not the longest sword that helps you win in war. And today we would say the longest missiles, but the longest purse or the biggest purse. And what he's referring to is the old axiom that the most important thing to war, in any kind of war, whether it's medieval, middle, modern era with the Louis XVI type character, or Louis XIV type, Louis le Grand, people like that, it's all about money, right? The country that has the most money is eventually going to win a long war. That is why the Northern Army, the Union, defeated the Confederates in the United States Civil War. That is why England eventually overcame France, despite the fact that France is quite a bit larger than England. Now, you do see this, right? We're hemorrhaging money here, but this is front-loaded cost. We've been going through, and we now have so many olives that we're going to be able to fucking corner the market on olive oil, right? Our little warehouse there is going to be making olive oil that makes people thrilled for a long time. We can put our name on it like Don Alonso or something like that, and you're going to be an olive oil magnet, right? Now, if you have too much of it, obviously eventually it starts to hurt your economy, but we can effectively feed the market as much as we want as long as it's profitable. In other words, you can just simply not put the inputs into your warehouse. They will make less olive oil, and it'll be worth more, right, per olive oil. It's the same idea as OPEC, right? When you have a rare commodity or a commodity that everybody wants, you have the ability to restrict it and basically control the price on some level. Now we're going to wrap this episode up shortly. This will be 2 episodes. We're going to break this into 2. Now we have peace against the Sturgeons. So Regalia is just committed to peace. I forgot to tell you this, and I swear I wasn't touching the keyboard when this happened. Your wife is pregnant. I promise. We weren't in the room together. I mean, she was sitting on my lap in the carriage ride. No, I joke. So your wife is pregnant. She already had twins in this episode or in the previous episode. Your warehouse is restored. Your food stocks are starting to dwindle there. You see that food stocks? That's going to fix itself. Guys wonder all the time, what the hell's happening with my food situation? And in fact, I think we'll focus on that. We'll go here to the city. We will, our warehouses here, we have a tannery and a brewer. So we'll make sure that all of those have resources, and we're getting low on hides, but we need more olives in there, right? There's actually too much grain. If you want to leave for a while, these warehouses, you want to leave about 200 of each because they can hold 6,000 little units there. Now, look at this. We can just stuff it full of olives, and they're going to start to make very valuable olive oil for us. Meanwhile, here we got some more hides to put in. Before I go on a campaign, I do this with warehouses. It only takes you a couple seconds. You basically go in, micromanage them, make sure that they have the resources they need, and then once you leave, those places will start creating money for you. I know it's been a little bit irregular here. I was surprised it's not 1,500, but I'm going to send this save game back to you, and if you can report back into the channel, let us know what happens. I'm sure the guys will be very curious what indeed did happen. Now, before this episode wraps up here, I'm just going to sell... Actually, we're not going to do that. You're doing okay for money. You're minus 3,000, but you're at 60,000, and now you have heaps of stuff to make money with, right? In fact, we'll go to your keep here, we'll open your stash, and we'll put a bunch of these goods in here for you to use later on, right? I like to keep all of these resources in my stash because if you get captured, instantly you're back in business, right? You could take all these resources. Suddenly you have a bunch of horses and hardwood and grapes and everything like that. And you can go back, stock everything up, get your army running, get horses for your army so you're not running at the slowest speed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? If your city's been under siege repeatedly, you can run in here, dump a bunch of food on the market, make all the civilians happy, et cetera, right? You guys get the gist at this stage. So, you still got a monster army. Now, it's a little bit banged up. We did have a few battles there. We've got a few upgrades we can make here before I save this file for you. But I hope you are happy with our turnaround story here, Alonso. Your wife is now rescued. She's cranking out children, right? Future axe murderers for your kingdom. You've got all kinds of good troops still. I did sneak a few archers in there, right? You're going to thank me later. You got a bunch of prisoners here that I'll let you decide what you can do with. These guys can be dragged around in chains for a while, or they can be used immediately. Your companion armies are decked out pretty well, right? Your companions still have all kinds of good level troops, so you're still very much a fighting force. And look at this shit. 564 influence, right? So now you're out there, you're ready to make some policy changes. You can suggest all kinds of stuff from there. And we have done some policy episodes a few times talking about which are the ones that are the most important. Your fiscal situation is still not great, but I'm pretty sure that workshop income is going to rocket up. You'll probably be in a much better state before long. And I think maybe a year from now, maybe 1088, you'll be probably on the cusp of making your own kingdom. Those kind of decisions, of course, will be up to you. So we're going to turn this over. We're going to wrap up this episode here full of babies and happy stories and hopefully a fiscally right situation. It's still not great, right? I still feel uncomfortable about it. And if I was taking over this campaign, frankly, I would either start dumping high-level troops or I would march to war, right? You're only at war with the Asura, I think? Yeah. So I would go down and immediately start sacking and ripping up Asura units. They're sieging here at Razi. That's immediately where I would go and start racking up victories, man. And once you have that going, Almyrus is protected. Your wife, here, we can do that too. That's one more step we can do here. Let's leave her as the governor. Let's take this gal and replace her with your wife. Now look at your wife. I wanted to mention this earlier. A lot of the times the wives within the game are the best governors, and I'll show you why, right? I wanted to talk about this. We'll spend another 30 seconds before we wrap this episode up. There are certain perks that come with certain skills, and I don't always remember all of them. We'll spend 30 seconds here, but you want to make sure that they have Either plus militia is a good thing to have as a governor, but the one I really like is loyalty, and here is one of them: discipline. +1 loyalty per day in the governed settlement. If you take a city and the loyalty is really low, you want a governor like your wife here, right? She's this altruistic, nice gal telling people there's plenty of bread, and if you riot, we'll behead you, right? It's a combination of the stick and the carrot, and I think there are other perks. In fact, I left this. All right, here we go again. Heroic leader, right? +1 daily loyalty in the governed settlement, right? So we give her that perk. She's got the other one. There's a few more here, in fact. Okay, this one doesn't hurt. +1 daily security, right? If you have security problem from too much crime, too many raiding, too many things like that, that can start to affect your loyalty. And she's going to have other perks here. Watch this. When we put your wife in charge now, look at that perk list, right? Let's see, +1 militia, +1 loyalty, plus half daily loyalty, plus half daily security, plus militia, plus security. I mean, she's basically a superstar as a governor, right? So we're going to leave her there. I'm not going to spend any more of your precious money, but you can do a few projects here. And now is where you start to stop doing festivals and games, right? Because you no longer need that +3 there, right? Your loyalty is fixed. Your food is still a little bit of an issue, but I think that's going to change here. In fact, we're just going to do this shit. Let's just wait a few days here. It's not going to harm anything. I already have a save game from the midway point here. We'll see if your workshops don't start becoming more profitable. We got guys gaining levels. And we're only at war with one country, and it's on the other side of the map. We're gaining levels just sitting here. How sweet is that? The workshops are now over 1,000. Now, you still just have way too many troops here. What is this? You have 378 troops in this garrison, right? And spending 30 seconds on this, this should never be the case. I think a good garrison size is 250. Anything over 300, and you better have a monstrously prosperous city to be affording that, right? Anything less than 3,500 or 3,000 prosperity, your garrison should be half the size that it is right now. So you need to make this garrison go work. Remember, your militia is building up too, right? You're gaining militia each time, and the gal we just put in there is going to help the militia, right? Over the course of time, a bunch of pluses to that. Your prosperity will start going up because your food is going to start rectifying itself, and your food's going to rectify itself because, of course, we dumped food in there, and there's no longer warfare around your little villages here, right? Your warehouses are now just barely over 1,000. We'll call that acceptable. You're still hemorrhaging money, but you should be able to easily overcome that with war expenses, bud. All right, so if you want to see more from this series, right, this Disasters of War series, this scenario was fun, right? I was presented with basically a very, very tough situation. We dug him out of the fiscal hole. We rescued his wife. We beat off attackers left and right. And then we stacked his workshops so that they will be profitable into the future. If you want more from the channel on these type of episodes in the future, we'll talk about changing workshops, right? You can optimize it to what resources are local and what resources are more dear. We will do stuff like that. If you want to submit a difficult situation, right, the email should be present on the video description link. Let us know later on what happens here. I almost called the guy Calanandros. Alonzo, let us know. Check back in at some point if you don't mind. And the rest of you, of course, subscribe, please, if you want to see more from our Disasters of War series. If you want to submit a difficult situation like this, even a campaign issue like this, feel free. I may not get to them all. I've had a pretty good response to this, but there isn't as many as you thought, right? I don't have 100 requests. In other words, I'm not being overwhelmed. So if you send in your problems now, even your difficult battles, there's a very good chance I will get to it, feature it, and make an episode from it. All right, so we'll wrap this up. I'm overly long-winded today. Thanks again for watching, friends. If you don't mind, hit that like button on the way out, and I will talk to you and see you, friends, next time.